So last year, I gave myself the challenge of moving away from DJing with my laptop with Serato to DJing with USB sticks using rekordbox and CDJs. Now, I already did a video describing my findings after completing that year, but at the beginning of this year, I decided I wanted to start implementing my laptop once again using Serato just to make sure that I wasn't rusty, and boy, was I rusty. Now, I have some new thoughts after, again, getting back to using Serato for some gigs and still using USB sticks for some gigs. And I want to say, after going multi-platform, meaning using both Serato and rekordbox, it kind of made me a worse DJ in some ways. Let me explain. So first and foremost, what I'd learned and what I kind of realized really quickly was that I did not keep my library as one-to-one for both Serato and rekordbox as I thought I did. Meaning, while I did have the same songs in the library, I still didn't have the same playlists in some cases, and some of the ID3 tags didn't get updated in Serato, making it a little bit harder to find songs based on how I organize my music. And I found this out at the worst time, basically in the middle of a mix, trying to look for a song that I use in like a mini set or a combo, not finding it in the playlist that I thought it would be in. And that's because it was in the playlist for my rekordbox library, but it wasn't in Serato. So, I quickly had to jump up to all, find the song that way. But in the heat of the moment, that's the last thing you want to run into, especially if you mix quickly like I do. Now, this is something that's completely my fault because I didn't do a better job of making sure that the libraries were, one-to-one and like mirrors of each other. But it's not something that I really thought about because all of last year I was pretty much DJing off of rekordbox USBs and I wasn't paying much attention to my Serato library other than making sure the songs were in there. Now, after I found this out, it took me longer to make sure that I had all the songs updated and that I had all the songs in the right playlist. But it's just something that you don't want to run into and something that I would have never ran into if I didn't go multi-platform on both of these. Now, second of all, I described it in that video after completing the 1 year, is that I was really reliant on Serato stems. Now, Serato stems was out for quite a bit before I switched to USBs. And at that time, when I switched to USB sticks, I didn't realize how ingrained in my DJ process stems was. More so that the muscle memory of, switching over to the right pad mode, using the right pad to use the stem effects or muting out certain sections. And when I went back to using Serato with my laptop, that muscle memory was no longer there, right? I was having trouble on the fly thinking of, oh, okay, it's this pad mode. All right, I want to use the instrumental echo out. Which pad is it? In situations like that, where if I didn't spend all that time not using Serato, I would still have that ingrained in my brain and I would still be able to do it quickly. And even now, after a few months of using Serato, because I still use USBs for some of my gigs, I still need more practice getting back to being able to have the muscle memory to use stems right away. And not only that too, I realized that with Serato stems, because I would use it so often, my brain would automatically just think, okay, I can echo out the instrumental on this side. There's an 8-bar intro on this side that I can lay right over it. And then once the chorus is done here, I can do the acapella echo out and it'll be a super clean mix, all using stems. That kind of thought process completely gone because I'm firing off songs so quickly and because I'm so used to not having stems with this and just using, regular effects, EQs and the faders. I tend to lean more towards the old school style of mixing, meaning DJing before stems, rather than actually utilizing the extra tools that Serato provides. And again, this is just something that I have to train myself and get more practice using stems again to get that just thought process back in my mind when I'm on my laptop. And I gotta remember that those mixes that I come up with just still aren't possible using USB sticks. And that's just something that I have to be okay with, right? And finally, the other thing that I feel like kind of messed me up going multi-platform is the workflow. What I mean by that is certain functions in Serato don't function the same way they do on Rekordbox using USB sticks. It could be the same exact setup. Say it's a a club standard Pioneer Nexus setup with two CDJ 3000s and a 900 Nexus 2 in the middle. When using hot cues or cue points on Serato, they use what's called gate cue, right? Where if the deck is paused and you hit the cue point will only play up until you let go of that pad, then it'll jump back to where the cue point was. Where when you're using USB sticks and hot cues, as soon as you hit that cue point, the song will start playing. And it's something that I had to get used to getting back to Serato, because I was so used to just having the hot cues function the way they do on USB sticks, and vice versa, right? Not only that, but just seeing where some of the functions are on the CDJ, using like beat jump and having those set and being able to change it on the fly. I can do that in Serato, where I can't do that on USB sticks, and I have to remember to set it before I actually start my set and save it to my stick. Also, even with the mixer section, right? Serato has auto gain, meaning it'll put the levels of all your songs to approximately, the same volume, and you can just adjust it a little bit inside the software. There is no auto gain in Rekordbox, and for every track, I'd have to manually adjust the gains on the mixer and, maybe boost it a little bit using the EQs. With Serato, I don't have to do any of that, but I have to remember now that I'm going back and forth that there's certain songs in my library that might be a lot quieter than others, where I'll have to bump that gain up, or it's not gonna, the volumes are not even gonna be close. And just having those extra things to think about because I'm switching from one to the other kind of messes my brain up a little bit. And it's just another layer, another thing that you have to think about in the middle of mixing. Now, after saying all of that, am I glad that I went multi-platform and I'm using both? I'm gonna still say yes. I love the flexibility of just showing up to a gig with my headphones and a USB stick rather than having to, lug out my laptop, charger, etc. But at the same time too, I still love the fact that there's so many tools in Serato, with stems being the biggest one, Serato Flip that I use, having the sample player, where if I was using a USB stick, I would need a third deck to play like an air horn or my drops or something like that. There's so much more flexibility with DJing with your laptop. They both have their pluses and minuses. And although I'm kind of complaining about the problems I've run into, having to juggle both of these, I love having the option of, just showing up with this, or if I want more power and more, features, I can grab this and be ready to go as well. Now, I guess the big takeaway here is just make sure that you're prepared in both with the library. Be prepared to deal with the different features on the hardware, like the hot cues or the gains on the mixer. Just have to be more mindful of what platform I'm playing on. And I think that's just going to come with more practice going back and forth with both. I think by the end of this year, I might have a different opinion, right? Because now I'll have more practice with Serato again, and it'll be a little bit more evened out, but only time will tell. So, question up to you guys. Are you guys multi-platform at all? Do you DJ with Serato and Rekordbox sometimes? Maybe virtual DJ, DJ Pro, Tractor, etc.? Or do you only use one DJ software, DJ platform? I'd love to hear from you guys. Leave that down in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy this content, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to this channel, as it really helps the channel out. And if you're looking for more DJ related content, please be sure to click on one of the videos right here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.